There are many tracks that have hosted a race over the decades. Some loved right until the very end, some despised and praised once taken off the calendar. Some that many can't help but feel a tingle of sorrow over its departure. Yet one track has seemingly encapsulated all of those emotions and more. And while the track itself will remain, the controversial 2-mile configuration will be waving one last goodbye this week. And so in this video, I want to dive deep into the history of Auto Club as an oval. Our story starts on December the 1st, 1941, at the Kaiser Steel Mill in Fontana, California. Founded by American industrialist Henry J. Kaiser, this humble steel manufacturing plant boasted a measly 10,000 employees during its tenure at its peak, and was the only notoriety the city ever got. It lasted right up until December of 1983, but its fate is an interesting story to say the least. California Steel, the parent company, would only operate the portion of the plant where they could process imported steel slabs into finished products such as rolled steel. The manufacturing equipment for producing raw steel installed in 1979 would remain idle. In 1994, almost a decade after the plant's closure, California Steel struck a deal with China to sell the still relatively modern steel manufacturing equipment for what is $26.2 million today. China would also spend $698 million to dismantle the unused equipment, ship it to southern China, and reassemble as one of the country's most advanced steel mills. After the steel company's investors' debt was forgiven, the remaining assets of Kaiser Steel were reorganized into a company called Kaiser Ventures in 1988. The ongoing payments allowed the new company to stay in business. The new California Steel plant operated the remainder of which was owned by Kaiser Ventures. The company demolished the remaining plant, which was built with more steel per square foot than any other building in the country, and sell the metal for scrap. In 1995, Kaiser Ventures sold off a large portion of the land entirely. A year earlier, however, in April of 1994, the agreement between the plant and Roger Penske was formed. The dream was to always have a racing venue in California, and what better place than the capital of car culture in Fontana. It was a massive risk considering there was no other track in the vicinity save for Phoenix, but the rewards were just too good to resist. A day after the announcement, CART announced it would hold an annual race at the Speedway. 3 months later, NASCAR President Bill Ferentz Jr. agreed to sanction NASCAR Cup Series races at the Speedway upon completion, marking the first time NASCAR made a commitment to run a race at a track that had yet to be built. Community meetings were held to discuss issues related to the construction of the track and the local efforts of events held. The local community largely supported construction of the Speedway, citing potentially increased land values and rejuvenation of the community. In April 1995, after having toured the sister track Michigan International Speedway, the San Bernardino Country Board of Supervisors unanimously approved the project. The California Environmental Protection Agency gave Penske permission to begin construction after Kaiser agreed to pay $6 million to remove hazardous waste from the site. Construction on the site began on November 22, 1995, with the demolition of Kaiser Steel Mill. The 100-foot water tower, a landmark of the Kaiser property, was preserved in the center of the track to be used as a scoreboard. 3,000 cubic yards of contaminated dirt were removed and transported to a toxic waste yard. To prevent remaining impurities from rising to the surface, a cap of non-porous polyethylene was put down and covered with 2 feet of clean soil. Construction of the track was completed in late 1996, and the new facility bore all the hallmarks of a Penske venture. Attention to detail was second to none, and the Speedway boasted facilities others could only dream of, including its own metro railway station alongside the backstretch. On January 10, 1997, Team Penske's driver Paul Tracy became the first driver to test on the new Speedway. According to JSKI News Archives, from March 24, 1997 to March 27th, Bobby Hamilton, Kenny Schrader, Dave Marcus, and Jim Sauter tested Goodyear tires at the 2-mile California Speedway near Los Angeles. The 4 drivers combined for 1,108 laps, with Hamilton clocking a fast lap time of 179 miles per hour, covering 2,216 miles. Hamilton used his number 43 STP Pontiac. Schrader tested a Winston West Series car, while Marcus and Sauter tested the IROC Pontiac Firebirds. NASCAR held its first open test session at the track from May 5th to 7th, almost a month before the race was supposed to be held on June 22nd that same year.
Your wait is over. It's big. It's fast. It's here. California Speedway. Now racing has a new home. Where will you be when a new era dawns and racing history is made? California Speedway. Racing's future starts here.
Nonetheless, the official opening and ribbon-cutting ceremony was held on June 20th, 1997, with the first race, a NASCAR West Series race, being held the next day.
The following is a special presentation of ABC Sports.
Finally, the countdown to California is over. For years, stock car fans in the West have shared a dream that someday a high-speed oval would be built to host the NASCAR stars. Their dream became one man's mission, and it took less than 4 years from concept to completion. Today, Roger Penske should be justifiably proud because we're about to witness the unveiling of one of motorsport's marvels, a meticulously engineered speed palace that should allow side-by-side racing at close to 200 miles per hour. Southern California, long known for sand and surf, today serves up pistons and pavement as the NASCAR Winston West boys enjoy their day in the sun. ABC Sports brings you live coverage of the inaugural event from the beautifully manicured California Speedway. It's the NASCAR Winston West Auto Club 200.
The top 5 finishers of the race would all lead more than 2 laps. Gary Smith would start second, finish 5th, leading 8 laps on the day. Butch Gilliland started 6th, but finished 4th, leading 3 laps that day. David Green started on the pole and led 13 laps. Mike Wallace started 25th and rocketed his way to 2nd, even 1st, leading 6 laps. But nobody could beat the driver who was to race in Cup that week and merely wanted to make laps at the new venue. It was none other than Kenny Schrader for Andy Petree Racing, who led 70 laps and earned $14,600 for his trying. Besides the top 5, Ron Asu in 6th and John Kinder in 7th were the only other drivers to finish on the lead lap.
Obviously, he's better 1 and 2. White flag, 1 lap to go. Final lap. 199 completed. They are door to door for second spot.
That green car right up in front, Kenny Schrader. They're trying to catch him. We see a car stalls like Dan Overton on the bottom of the racetrack. And here comes Gilliland once again.
This is an incredible race right here. Wallace has it on the inside. Chevy down low. Ford up high. Winston Cup regular Wallace. Winston West regular Gilliland.
And he is really, really high now. Oh, and he's going to lose third spot. Here comes David Green to finish third.
Checkered flag for Kenny Schrader. His 4th ever Winston West win. Stay tuned for the next game coming up next. The final results of the lap. Tune into our...
There were 2 other notable finishers in the race, however. One of them was a relatively unknown driver who finished 4 laps down in the number 16, Bill McAnally. McAnally had a brief racing career, but never shied away from his California roots. While most Cup teams wouldn't think about moving beyond North Carolina, or near it, McAnally owns a truck and K&N West team out in California. The number 16 car is driven in K&N by Austin Herzog this year. One Ford driver who had ignition issues on lap 7 and finished 23rd out of 26 cars, earning him $1,800 for his efforts, is yet another current NASCAR Truck Series team owner, David Gilliland. This was a whole decade before Gilliland sat on the pole for the 2007 Daytona 500, and way before he ever rose to some level of prominence. Yet there he was at the inaugural Auto Club race. The second race ever held there was an IROC race, the 3rd round in a series that held races only at the largest tracks on the NASCAR schedule. The IROC race was fairly monotonous, with only 1 caution coming out. Alex Zanardi crashed before the start of the race, thus he had to go into a backup car. He only made 4 laps, however, and was supposed to start on pole. Speaking of ones, however, it was the one of Mark Martin who led 19 laps that day and route to a victory.
They splash across the line. Mark Martin still holding on to it. Now Jeff Gordon going to try to move low. Martin, Bobby Labonte, Terry Labonte, LaJoy, and Jeff Gordon onto the backstretch.
Now the Labonte brothers back, hooked up nose to tail again. Can they do anything with Mark Martin?
One more chance. If you're going to do it, now's the time. Mark Martin making that car very wide as they head into 3. Bobby Labonte looking for room. Terry Labonte closes through 4.
And it's Mark Martin. They'll not be able to beat him to the line, but which Labonte will run second?
Mark Martin's running for the checkered flag. And it's Martin, Bobby Labonte, Terry Labonte, Randy LaJoie, and Jeff Gordon. IROC round 3 is complete, and Mark Martin holds on to the points lead.
Bobby Labonte, who was filling in for an injured Robbie Gordon, led 25 laps and finished second. Brother Terry Labonte finished third, leading 5 laps. Dale Jarrett led 1 lap and finished 8th. The only driver to not finish on the lead lap and was still running under power at the line was Darrell Waltrip, who finished 11th out of 12 cars. The race concluded with much anticipation for the next day's festivities. I forgot to mention that there was a tire test that was done a few days in advance, and after that tire test, the drivers gave their thoughts on the California Speedway. "It's impressive," said Terry Labonte. "If you look back, everything Roger Penske does is first class. It looks like to me he might put some pressure on these other tracks. Guys who are thinking about building new ones. It's going to be difficult to top this one. The whole sport is different now," Rusty Wallace said. "There are more people, bigger trucks, more technology. We used to buy our shocks from the vendor. Now we make our own shocks. Everything has just changed." "The old Ontario track was great," said 7-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion Dale Earnhardt. "There was nothing wrong with it. The timing just wasn't right. We weren't as big. The sport wasn't as big. Now we're back. You can almost see Ontario from here. Timing is a funny thing. I think we'll be here for a while this time." "This isn't Michigan. This is California," said Jeff Gordon. "We're running on the bottom here, and we run in the middle of the turns in Michigan." Joe Nemechek would start on the pole with a speed of 183 miles per hour and would make history by leading the very first lap at the new California Speedway. He would finish 18th. Brett Bodine led a lap only to finish 26th. Darrell Waltrip led 2 laps and finished 15th. Jimmy Spencer led 4 laps and finished 5th. Wally Dallenbach Jr. started 4th, led 6 laps before electrical issues took him out of contention. Ernie Irvin and Ken Schrader led 6 and 8 laps respectively before they would join 4 other drivers who had engine issues that day. Mark Martin led 11 laps, and entering into the final few laps of the race, it seemed he would take the victory before the real victor took over. He would end up running out of gas just like Bill Elliott did in an attempt to stretch his fuel mileage and barely hung on to the top 10 spot. By the end of the race, he sat second in points, 92 behind Jeff Gordon. Speaking of finishing 10th, that's where Terry Labonte started before he stormed his way up to the front of the field and led 41 laps. It seemed like all of the drivers who had any advantage, whether through the Winston West race or the IROC race the previous few days, had the leg up on the field that day. And that would be a theme throughout the history of Auto Club, a veteran's track and a rookie's enemy. Yet some rookies defied this principle, and some young guns did too. We'll talk more about those special talents later in the video. Jarrett led the second most laps that day, though on paper it seemed anything but a solid run. He started 9th and finished 8th, leading 49 laps out of the 250 that day. In all, there were 21 lead changes between 12 drivers. So who took the margin of victory by over a second? Well, that was none other than the Rainbow Warrior of Jeff Gordon.
Waves for Jeff Gordon. 1 more lap to go. 2 miles to victory. Will it be Gordon or will it be Labonte? Or will Jeff Gordon run out of fuel on the last lap? He's safely through the second corner, down the backstretch. Ray Evernham has his fingers crossed. The interval stays about the same down the backstretch. And Mark Martin apparently is out of gas as Jeff Gordon sets the car into the third corner.
Mark Martin goes by the front stretch, coaches as cars go by. Here comes Jeff Gordon off the corner. Bob, I do believe he's going to make it.
Let's see if he can do it. He's going to do it. Jeff Gordon wins the California 500, presented by Napa. And the Rainbow Warriors.
Show him the trophy, man. We missed you. We got the 1-2. Sorry we missed on the 1-3, but this is a great win for us. Tell you what, to do the inaugural race here means so much. This is an incredible facility and it's a great race today. I learned how to conserve fuel today, so I got to thank my crew. Everybody in the DuPont Automotive Finishes Chevrolet did an awesome job. Thank Goodyear Tires.
Many look back at the race and call it a dominating performance, but in actuality, Gordon had many ups and downs that day. He would lead a chunk of laps here and a chunk there, but would always be mired back from the lead. Still, he led 113 laps. I'll talk more about NASCAR later, as that is the focus of this video, but it wouldn't be right of me to just skip IndyCar entirely. On September the 28th, CART held their very first race at Fontana, which would end up being the season finale for that year's championship. A driver who was just a rookie the year before and won Portland and Toronto that very year would also go on to win Fontana and score his 3rd victory that season. It was Mark Blundell who would finish 6th in points, never to win another race again or even run up front.
White Race leader Mark Blundell 2 miles from his 3rd career victory and his 3rd of the season. Vassar still in 2nd, now less than a second behind, but I don't think there's enough time remaining. Into turns 3 and 4. What a story this Pac West team has been this year. And now the thousands of man hours and all the travel and all of the tribulation are worth it. Victory for Mark Blundell, his 3rd of the year, the inaugural winner of the Kart World Series 500 at the California Speedway.
Jimmy Vassar for Chip Ganassi Racing won the race in 1998 and won it again, this time for Team Rahal in 2002.
By going early, he's able to build ahead of steam. The starter still hasn't displayed the green flag.
Now the green is out. Let's see if any of them time it. Vassar's making a bid. Vassar takes the lead. Green on right side. Zanardi almost touches wheels with Moore. The 2 target teammates are 1st and 2nd.
And you saw Zanardi had to lift off a little bit when he went into 1, held up more a little bit, gave that Jimmy that little break. That might be enough.
Here comes Moore. Here comes Moore. Zanardi low, Moore up high.
And this is helping Jimmy Vassar get away. These guys are battling.
No, Vassar's out in front by about 5 car lengths. They come off the turn now. Caddy, hold on. Caddy, hold on for $1 million. Yes, Jimmy Vassar with his 5th in the air. White flag is out.
Jimmy's got this race in hand right now.
Vassar, Andretti.
Down through turn 1 and 2, exiting 2.
That's Oriol Servia on the lapped Vistion car in 3rd place. Then Patrick Carpentier 3rd on the timesheets, but he is not in it. It's Vassar and Andretti with less than a mile to go. Jimmy Vassar timed it perfectly, it would appear, holding the low line, drifting out to the wall. He will become the first 2-time winner of the 500 presented by Toyota.
Adrian Fernandez won the 1999 edition of the race for Patrick Racing. The victory was marred by tragedy, however.
And the battle is going to go down to that final lap, though Montoya has his fingertips on the PPG Cup at this moment. The white flag comes out for Adrian Fernandez. Rest of the field flashes under the white flag. Fernandez on the backside. Is the gamble about to pay off for Fernandez? Off of the final corner, Adrian Fernandez takes the win. The gamble pays off.
For device. It's like coming up behind a semi at 90 miles an hour and just being pulled right into the back of it.
Oh! Oh, an enormous crash. Oh my God. A terrible crash. Yellow comes out again.
It was determined that after sliding along the infield grass, Moore's car hit the edge of oncoming pavement, which caused the car to flip into a concrete retaining wall. The incident prompted the track owners, ISC, to pave the backstretch of both Auto Club Speedway and its sister track Michigan International Speedway in an attempt to prevent a similar accident. Shortly after the crash, CART mandated the use of a head, neck, and restraint system on all ovals. The rule eventually became mandatory on all tracks. It wasn't the last tragedy the track ever saw. On April 5, 2002, Ricky Lundgren was killed in a qualifying session for a motorcycle race. On August 7, 2004, a police officer from San Diego, John Barr, died during an open track event after coming off his motorcycle. On June 2, 2005, 2 men died while participating in an event sponsored by the San Diego chapter of the Ferrari Club of America. And lastly, on October 15, 2010, a 24-year-old woman died while participating in a driving school at the track. The woman was driving a replica Indycar as part of the Mario Andretti racing experience when she lost control and hit the inside wall of the track. Newman Haas won the event twice in a row from 2000 to 2001, the prior with Christian Fittipaldi and the latter with Cristiano D'Amata.
Just before it, it looks like the game may be totally over. Tagliani catches the wall. That was after he got around DeFerrin. It looked forward right behind DeFerrin as well.
And Fernandez crosses the line with 1 to go, knowing that his championship has just absolutely and totally gone away in the Champ Car. And as he comes to the line, record number of winners in a season as Christian Fittipaldi takes the win. Laps of the race, knowing full well that you're going to win it and take the checkered flag. This is what really mattered. Cristiano Damata by a whisker beats Max Pappas to the line as the yellow comes out. And his crew also knew down in the Newman Haas pits that Cristiano had done it. And they also clearly understood the race would finish under yellow. Max Pappas going to make sure he's in second. Checkered flag flies just ahead for Cristiano Damata, his 4th career win.
In 2002, CART went head-to-head against the emerging IndyCar series. That race saw Sam Hornish Jr. win for Panther Racing.
Hornish ducks in to try to pick up some draft air behind Lazier. Hornish moves to the outside. They're in turn 4.
They would go again head-to-head in 2003, with King Tacos sponsoring the CART race and Toyota sponsoring the IndyCar race. IndyCar held theirs in September, seeing Sam Hornish Jr. go back-to-back for Panther Racing again.
Yes, the car's not working well for him, but Sam's got slowed up just a little bit in the high side there.
Clear. Dixon has a little better momentum coming off the corner. Sharp comes up high. Dixon sees the opportunity, comes down low. But it looks like it's all Hornish.
Just bring it on home.
Sam Hornish has won 3 of the last 4 races and will now trail the points leaders by a mere 19 points. Sam Hornish has...
The next month, however, on October the 29th, a full week before CART was to hold theirs, there was breaking news. The San Bernardino wildfires plagued their chances of regaining faith with the open-wheel diehards, and it was made even more embarrassing when they failed to find a replacement for the venue. This meant the championship race would not be held. CART remained optimistic for 2004, but not even its successor Champ Car would host a race against the IndyCar series ever again. Nonetheless, in 2004, Adrian Fernandez won again after defecting to IndyCar.
Fernandez. Watch, Tony's going high. He's going to push him up high in the racetrack. Look how close they got, and that's almost 200.
They went 3 wide, then almost 4 wide behind the leaders. They come nose to nose down the backstretch. Fernandez high. Kanan is on the low side. Buddy Rice comes around Sam Hornish and goes for 3rd place. Dan Weldon's down on the low side of Hornish. The battle is for the lead, though. Tony Kanan now has just a few inches on Fernandez. They make a turn for the line. They're still side by side. Fernandez just a bit ahead, and Fernandez.
Dario Franchitti won the next year.
Lap of the 2005 season is underway. Dario Franchitti, can he hold off his teammate Tony Kanaan? And the emotion just too great for Ashley Judd. Kanaan will try to go to the outside. Franchitti holding the inside line. As they come out of turn number 4, Tony Kanaan makes a run at the line. It is Dario Franchitti.
When the 2006 IndyCar schedule came out, drivers were shocked to find out that Fontana would no longer host a race, at least for the near foreseeable future. The move was in an effort to avoid battling for viewers against the NFL. They needed to shorten the schedule and didn't see California as something they needed for the long haul. The California market is very, very important to anyone involved in the sport in general. I'm definitely disappointed to see it off the calendar, said Dan Weldon. I'm hoping in the future we can come back here. It's a shame, Alex Barron said. We're taking away the Western market. It's too bad. It's hard to imagine that this is happening. Barron also said it might force some team owners to lay off crew members during the offseason because there'd be so much downtime. Unsurprisingly, Sam Hornish Jr. said, I'm really going to miss this place. The initial plan was to stop Fontana right after the Indy 500 on June 4th, 2006. However, that didn't come to fruition. It is really unfortunate that Fontana was not part of the 2006 schedule. It is an important market and a great racetrack, IRL President and Chief Operating Officer Brian Barnhart said. It just didn't work out in 2006, but I'm confident that we'll be back here in the future. Scheduling a race right after the Indy 500 required us to have some flexibility built into the schedule. California Speedway president Gillian Zucker remained hopeful and said the earliest the series could be back is 2007. However, Auto Club wouldn't hold a race from 2006 to 2011. On July 5th, 2011, the IZOD Indycar series made an announcement that they would return to Auto Club, this time for a night race. It was all part of Randy Bernard's plan to expand Indycar as an organization. "We feel the time is right to bring Indycar racing back to Auto Club Speedway," Bernard said. "We want to maintain the diverse lineup of ovals on our schedule, and the addition of Auto Club Speedway adds to a great venue that was built for the high-speed, wheel-to-wheel excitement of IndyCar racing under the lights. This facility was built to host open-wheel racing, and Auto Club Speedway has arguably hosted some of the most exciting races in IndyCar history," said Gillian Zucker, president of Auto Club Speedway. "We look forward to building on the area's history and tradition of open-wheel racing with new records and new races beginning in 2012. Tickets would go on sale beginning on September the 12th, and the fans to drivers were sky-high excited for the return of Fontana. There was a bit of anxiety in the back of everyone's mind heading into the 2012 season finale, as Dan Wheldon's fatal accident in 2011 was still fresh in many competitors' minds. From 2012 to 2015, IndyCar saw some of its most thrilling races and death-defying accidents. One could argue that this is the reason why IndyCar moved away from the giant ovals.
Meantime, who's going to win this thing?
Great battle up front. And here's the...
Oh, no! Catching him good sideways. Sato
is in the wall, and the race will end under caution, and Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to win the championship.
Wow.
And Ed Carpenter is ahead of Franchitti. Ed Carpenter will come off of corner number 4, and he is going to win the MAV-TV IndyCar World Championships presented by Lucas Oil, while Ryan Hunter-Reay is the champion for 2012.
Watch the championship go up in smoke, and to be here now and see Castroneves having the championship slip away from him, it just shows in this series anything's possible. It's just an amazing comeback.
One more. Keep going.
Scott Dixon on the left of your screen. Final lap of this season. In 2003, Scott Dixon was crowned champion. In 2008, as he takes the white flag, he was crowned champion. That was 5 years. It's been 5 years since then. Every 5 years, this man drives to a championship in the IndyCar series.
And look at him 150 mile per hour lap. 205.
Okay.
Leaders are at 215, and he had a big lift there and won. He can coast home and win the championship.
Third win of the year for Penske's Willpower. It's the team's first win at the track that the captain built, but we're waiting for our champion. 33-year-old New Zealander Scott Dixon for Target Chip Ganassi Racing is your champion. It's an IndyCar series. Quite an extraordinary season of racing.
As it comes up to lap board A.
In his old car.
White flag, so.
And 1 lap to go, guys. 249 laps in the books, and we haven't had a single failure that I'm aware of. We still have 20 cars running, I believe, with Pagano. Not a single reliability issue. Amazing.
Yep.
Still got a half straightaway,
the old attrition rate story that we were talking about, and reliability. But we've got 2 different winners here on 2 very different scales. We've got a race winner, and we've got a championship winner that will be decided in less than half a lap. Tony Kanaan knows what it's like to win a championship. Tony Kanaan wins the MAV-TV 500 to be the 11th different winner. But we look for that Verizon Chevrolet to come to the line for Willpower to be the 2014 champion. He comes down the back straight. This has been the wait. This has been the moment that everybody has spoken about, that Willpower has waited for. 3 times he has been denied an IndyCar championship. Well, not anymore. Willpower is an IndyCar champion.
Just the 3rd time this season the Verizon IndyCar Series tackled a speedway, this time in Fontana, California. Hi race fans, I'm Katie Hargett with highlights from the MAV-TV 500. Simon Pagano led the field to the green for the first time as a Team Penske driver, but he fell back early and teammate Helio Castroneves took over the lead. Early on, rookie Sage Karam earned his stripes, leading lap on the 2-mile oval. The first round of pit stops began on lap 35. All 4 Team Penske drivers pitted together, but Willpower had a slow stop, dropping him down in the order. Juan Montoya took the lead after the field cycled through. 2 drivers who started in the back but didn't stay there long was Graham Rahal, who started 19th and battled for positions early. Ryan Briscoe began the day in 16th, but quickly put his name in the mix. The first caution of the day came on lap 136. Elio Castroneves gets sideways and into the inside wall. He went back to the garage for repairs, but made it back out just in time to join the field for the green. Fast forward to lap 158. CFH Racing has learned the roller coaster of racing all too well this season. After a 1-2 finish in Toronto, Ed Carpenter and Joseph Newgarden make contact, ending both their days. Carlos Munoz led the field back to the green on lap 166. Then a round of green flag pit stops begins. Graham Rahal goes in for maintenance on lap 188, but there's an issue with the fueler. He leaves debris on the track, bringing out a yellow. Back to green flag racing on lap 199 with Marco Andretti out front, but that doesn't last long. With 48 laps to go, Ryan Hunter-Reay leads his very first laps of the season when he takes over for Will Power. 30 to go, Scott Dixon gets into the back of Carlos Munoz, who loses his left rear wing, bringing out another caution. The green flag flies again on lap 227 with Will Power in the lead. Then Ryan Briscoe takes over with 16 to go. The race isn't over though, they go 4 wide for the lead, but Power gets sucked back a few positions and he makes contact with Sato, ending their hopes for a win. IndyCar officials red flag the race in an attempt to finish under green.
Let's go. Here come the guys on those new tires at the back. Keep an eye on them. I think Sage Karam got the best run.
Yeah, he definitely got a run. He was going when they waved the green. He was already up to speed. But look at Kanaan coming through the middle.
Montoya down low. Kanaan there. Briscoe high. They dive for that inside line.
Briscoe knows where he needs to be.
Come on, Rahal. Hold that bottom. Don't let him take it away from you. He's going to get a little help. They're 3 wide behind. But look at Sage Karam with the fresh tires and the momentum.
2 laps to go from here. 4 miles will decide this race. Up high is Marco Andretti and Sage Karam. Here they come. Andretti was one of those ones on fresh tires.
Fresh tires, momentum off of the restart. They were up and running and up to speed when they caught the lead group. Andretti coming on the high side, cutting to the bottom.
Watch this, down low, and Rahal closes the door.
That's where you've got to be, Marco. That's where you've got to be. You've got those fresh tires, but not in the middle of the track. You've got to dive down low. You've seen what Briscoe could have done.
This is it. 1 lap. Oh, there goes Ryan Hunter-Reay and Ryan Briscoe, and Briscoe flies. Briscoe flips and flies. On the grass, the 2 Ryans came together. What a wild end. Wow. So, caution and checkers. Caution and checkers at the same time for Graham Rahal, who ends a 125 race drought. It's his 2nd career victory.
As I said, IndyCar slowly moved away from the big ovals into tracks such as Road America and Boston, and even Phoenix, which made its return in 2016 after a hiatus. Again, Auto Club would not see a date in 2016. There was a tremendous amount of effort put forth to keep Auto Club Speedway on the calendar. In the end, we could not identify a compromise for 2016 that was amicable for both parties, said Mark Miles, CEO of Holman & Co., the parent of IndyCar and Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're thankful to Auto Club Speedway President Dave Allen for his efforts in these negotiations. We mutually agreed that our inability to identify a date for next year doesn't preclude us revisiting these conversations in the future. Unfortunately, even if a conversation happened since 2015, it clearly did not go very well, as we haven't seen IndyCar make a return there since. Many fans dream of one day going back to the venue, but seeing how IndyCar's only spare Texas as the biggest mile and a half on the schedule, it seems unlikely. Now, where were we with the Cup Series? Right. Jeff Gordon winning the inaugural race at California Speedway in 1997 in a fairly dominating performance. It was just days after the race when California began negotiating with NASCAR to have a second date on the calendar. At this time, short tracks were on the way out, and mile and a halfs, aka cookie cutter tracks, were on the way in. Staples we love today were under threat in the late 90s, such as Martinsville and even Richmond. Some we hope to see in the future, such as North Wilkesboro. In a cruel twist of fate and irony, it's the cookie-cutter tracks that are either on the chopping block of being taken off the schedule, or like Auto Club in 2022, possibly renovated into what it first replaced. Nonetheless, later in 1997, the Truck Series headed to Auto Club for the first time. The October 18th race was the 24th race out of a 26-race schedule, a season that saw Jack Sprague for Hendrick Motorsports lock up the championship already. That day, Sprague wasn't even in contention, only leading a lap that day. It was the pole sitter Mike Bliss for Jim Smith who led 93 out of the 100 laps that day en route to the victory. Auto Club has seen tons of events, and I'd be here all day if I gave a comprehensive analysis of all of them. So for the sake of time, I'll brief through some of the lower division winners here, and just focus on the top 3 series individually. IROC, or International Race of Champions, saw Mark Martin win again in 1998. It wouldn't host a race until 2002, where Kevin Harvick, after starting 4th, won the race. Until its demise, IROC never hosted a race again. The ARCA Menards West Series saw its fair share of winners from 1998 to 2006. As part of the compromise to host another California date on the calendar, the West Series got 2 for 1998. Although it was a one-time thing, Ken Schrader and Kevin Harvick won that year's respective races. Ricky Craven won in 1999 in a whopping 36-car field. Johnny Benson Jr. won in 2000. Brendan Gaughan won in 2001. Eric Norris won in a record-low 22-car field. Steve Portenga won in 2003. Ken Schrader won again for his 3rd and final win in the West Series at the venue in 2004. Forgotten prospect Bernie Lamar won in 2005. And finally, Mike Duncan took the checkered flag in 2006. In the Truck Series, Jack Sprague flexed his muscles at the California Speedway, winning it in 1998 and 1999. In 2000, young Las Vegas hotshot bested Andy Houston to lead 20 laps en route to a victory, none other than Kurt Busch. Ted Musgrave won it a record 3 times in a row from 2001 to 2003, and Todd Bodine won it in 2004. After a disastrous end to a once promising Cup career, past DEI underdog Steve Park defected to the Truck Series. Disaster followed him in trucks, where he ran the full season in 2004, only to run out of money partway through 2005. It was a shame considering he did win a race, that being California Speedway. In 2006, Mark Martin won at a track he came to love. In 2007, Mike Skinner, who had by far the best post-Cup career in recent memory, won. Fittingly, it was a driver who we'll talk about later that won the last 2 races at the venue in 2008 and 2009, none other than Kyle Busch. The Xfinity Series delivers some familiarity in terms of winners throughout its colorful history. In 1998, Dale Earnhardt Jr. led 141 out of 150 laps en route to a victory. He would later win the championship, 2 times in a row in fact, from 1998 to 1999. He would then join the Cup Series, taking part in a rookie battle against the 1999 winner of the then-called Busch Series, Matt Kenseth. Ironically, Kenseth in the Robbie Reiser Chevy bested Jeff Burton, who drove for Kenseth's future boss, Jack Roush. The top 2 finishers didn't change for 2000, as Burton saw Kenseth ride off into the sunset once again. In 2001, Greg Biffle dominated the race before Kevin Harvick took over. Then with 12 to go, Hank Parker Jr. knit the rest of the quilt. In 2002, Roush prospect Greg Biffle dominated again, this time dueling Scott Riggs for the win. Unfortunately, Biffle's car fell apart late in the going, handing the win to the Nesquik machine. In 2003, Matt Kenseth, Michael Waltrip, and Kevin Harvick each had the best cars that day, and contested each other for the win. The victor was Matt Kenseth, who won his 3rd Xfinity race at the venue. California Speedway expanded to 2 dates for 2004, with the first having Kenseth dominate again. He was challenged by Greg Biffle, but this time, it was Kenseth who faltered and Biffle who broke through. Now with Cup experience, Biffle had knowledge and momentum heading into the 2nd race at the place, which saw him sweep the venue. Mark Martin dominated the first race in 2005, taking the trophy too. In the 2nd race, Carl Edwards, Cup rookie and Xfinity rookie that year, battled with Greg Biffle to earn his first win at the place. They dueled again in the first race of 2006, with Biffle coming out on top. In late 2006, Casey Kane held off hard chargers Kevin Harvick and Mark Martin to score a popular win at the place. In early 2007, Matt Kenseth won for the 4th time in the Xfinity Series with almost no contest. In late 2007, Jeff Burton, who lost to Matt Kenseth all those years ago, finally won at the place in 2007, now an aged Cup veteran. Tony Stewart nearly broke Dale Jr.'s record for most laps led at the track in Xfinity, leading 136 out of the 150 laps in early 2008. In late 2008, Kyle Busch not only won in trucks, but the Nationwide Series too. He sat on the pole, shattered Dale Jr.'s lap sled record with 144 out of 150 laps won that race. In true Kyle Busch fashion, he won again in 2009, nearly shattering his own record with 143 laps led winning the race, after starting 2nd. 2007 ARCA East winner Joey Logano began tearing up the Cup Series, winning at the ripe age of 19 at New Hampshire. You could tell there was some serious talent there, and one place he always reminded people of that, even in the midst of struggles in Cup, was the Nationwide Series. He sat on the pole in late 2009, didn't dominate the race, but still finished on top. It was none other than Kyle Busch who dominated and was taken out by Greg Biffle. Early 2010 was another slow burn Auto Club race, seeing Joey Logano lead 130 out of the 150 scheduled laps. I say schedule because there was a green-white checker that extended the race to 152. The rest would see one of the best Xfinity finishes and one of the best Auto Club finishes in history.
Roush Fenway, the only team that has won 5 straight times at a racetrack, they did it right here at California. That mark could be tied by one of these two drivers.
Hey, don't forget about that 22 and Brad Keselowski. He was up on the wheel here, and we know what he can do with these guys. Biffle doesn't want this 20 car to win either.
And Biffle is 3rd, Keselowski 4th, Vickers 5th, and Brian Scott is in 6th. That's the top 3 rows. Green flag is back out, and we are going to find out who's going to win at California. Whoa, look at them diving underneath. Rudiman way off the pace. Everybody gets around him.
Biffle trying the inside. Okay, he's got into him. He's got the lead.
He loosened him up, and now he's going down low. And there goes Joey getting shuffled. The last time Joey led over 100 laps, he ended up losing the race. Could it happen again?
Well, Biffle's got a mirror full of Kyle Busch right now.
And here comes Keselowski. Remember, Dodge hasn't won a race since 2007. The white flag, this time by.
Kyle Busch to the high side here. Biffle shuts the door on him.
1 lap remaining. 2 miles here.
Man, I'm telling you, that 18 is up underneath Greg Biffle at the start-finish line.
It looks like it's going to be a shootout between these two. Down into turn 2. Kyle on the low side. Biffle drifts up high. Here comes Busch. Right behind him, the 22 of Keselowski. He's trying to get in the mix.
Though. The 22 could have a shot here also. These guys side by side.
Joey Logano trying to get back. Here he goes, down low. Can he hold it? Through the turn 3 area, through 4. Look out, 4 cars going to be dicing for it, heading for the stripe. What a finish. Will it be Biffle? Will it be Busch? Going for the wire. It is going to be a spinning Logano, and the win goes to Busch.
In late 2010, Kyle Busch, nationwide regular Brad Keselowski, and Kevin Harvick duked each other out to try to get the win. Ultimately, it would be Kyle Busch again. From 2011 onward, Auto Club would only host 1 race on the calendar, which meant winning at it would be a bit more special, especially considering you'd have to duel Kyle Busch every year from here on out. Who won it in 2011? Take a guess. In 2012, Joey Logano began a decline in Cup Series, with Gibbs eventually moving on to Penske, where he's made a Hall of Famer of himself since 2013. Like I said, the Nationwide Series reminded people he still had the talent, and put him on the radar ahead of Team Penske, whose Brad Keselowski dominated the 2012 edition. Still, ultimately, it'd be Joey Logano who would win it. In 2013, Kyle Busch won yet again, leading 92 out of the 150 laps possible. In 2014, former teammate and present rival Joey Logano duked Kyle Busch out for the win. But it was the driver everyone was comparing to Jeff Gordon, now the defending Cup champion, Kyle Miata Larson, who won for Chip Ganassi. I'll talk about this later, but it would be deja vu again when he battles Busch in Cup the next day. In 2015, Junior Motorsports won with Kevin Harvick, who led 100 laps out of the 150 at Auto Club. Of course, by now you know the theme. It's a track that spreads cars out easily, but delivers fast speeds. At Daytona and Talladega, you can have both due to the track design, but at places like Michigan and Auto Club, it's all but impossible. The track is by far too wide, which means the cars aren't forced into each other like Daytona and Talladega. Imagine a bowl with a few marbles inside. They'll always hit each other as soon as you make them spin around the edge. Now imagine a plate with some curves on the edge. Eventually, the marbles get spread out. You have to build a track that condenses the speed into momentum, and the momentum into drafting and pushing. Auto Club spreads out that speed. Daytona is a 2.5-mile track that's about 40 feet wide. Auto Club is a 2.5-mile track that's about 75 feet wide. That just tells you the tale right there. Enough of bowls and marbles, though, as 2016's finish mitigated the spread-out racing. Kyle Busch led 133 laps out of the 150, but before you fall asleep like so many did that day, he would not lead the 150th.
Here comes Suarez, guys. White flag is out. 1 to go. Brought to you by Credit One Bank. And that's a big one for Kyle Busch because he knows we're not going to get the caution. He blows a tire.
Back to the checkers.
Here comes Daniel Suarez down on the inside. Drama. Does Daniel have enough gas? California. Suarez now in position for his first career victory. If he's not out of gas, Austin Dillon's running third, 5 seconds back. Does he have enough gas? Suarez on the apron. Here comes Dillon off of turn 2. Look at Suarez. Kyle's going to try to make it with a flat tire. Can he do it? Busch back in front of him. This is outstanding on the final lap. And Austin Dillon is into 3. He's coming fast. Dillon's going to get the lead. Here comes Austin Dillon. Where does he stand on fuel? He goes to the outside. Dillon outside of Kyle Busch into the
Larson won again in 2017, sweeping both the Xfinity and Cup races there. In 2018, Joey Logano got his third win at the venue, and as of the time of recording, this is Team Penske's final win at the track. In 2019, Kyle Busch was creeping ever closer to a mark that some thought impossible a decade ago. Richard Petty's 200 wins in the Cup Series alone is an otherworldly record, but Kyle Busch does have 200 wins, at least across Cup, Xfinity, and trucks. It started as a debate as to whether that counts to smashing Petty's record or not, and while I won't give my opinion on it, I'm curious to hear your guys's. Nonetheless, heading into the 2019 Production Alliance Group 300, Busch sat at 199 wins, and the king of the Xfinity Series looked to reach 200. It seemed inevitable as Busch led 98 laps on that day. However, he was a driver who collected 7 wins that season, taking part in the quote-unquote Big Three, and eventually won the 2020 Cup Rookie of the Year, who delayed Busch's big celebrations just a bit, Cole Custer. In 2020, it was Joe Gibbs Racing who dominated, but Kyle Busch who sat out, electing to participate at other tracks. Brandon Jones took his place leading 73 laps in the 19 Menard Supra. However, it was Harrison Burton and Riley Herbst that led a Gibbs 1-2. At this time, Harrison's truck career was fairly forgettable, and many were eager to see how he could flip the switch in Xfinity. It would be one of 4 wins he got that year. Now, Burton reunites with the track in the famed Wood Brothers 21 car in Cup. Xfinity may host its last 2-mile event this week, and while my prediction to win is Brandon Jones, I'm curious to hear your guys's, at least in terms of who will take the checkers for what could be Auto Club's final race in Xfinity. The last series to talk about is the one I began with a bit earlier, the Cup Series. The winners of the Cup Series are just as colorful as the races there, so let's begin with the 1998 edition. Race number 10 of the 33-race season saw inaugural winner and defending California Speedway winner Jeff Gordon sit on the pole, leading 23 laps on the day. Outside pole sitter Jeremy Mayfield would challenge Gordon, but neither of them could best Mark Martin. Martin led 165 out of the 250 laps total that day. Obliteration continued into 1999 with Jeff Gordon, who led 151 out of the 250 laps that day. He was challenged by Jeff Burton here and there, but ultimately Burton's efforts proved fruitless. In 2000, Mike Skinner sat on the pole and led 64 laps that day, only to be mired deep into the pack as the race went on. It was the Busch Series winner of 1999, and the day before, Matt Kenseth, who was looking to put up a sweep. He led 120 laps that day and seemed unstoppable. Everyone was eager to see Kenseth follow up Dale Jr.'s magical win at Fort Worth. Ultimately, it was Jeremy Mayfield who capitalized on an opportunistic caution with 4 to go. It was enough to use his short-run speed to win the race. Kenseth finished third. In 2001, Jimmy Spencer for Travis Carter. Yes, that's right, the same Travis Carter, who was the team owner for Darrell Waltrip's retirement tour the year before, led 75 laps in his 26 Ford Taurus. That all happened early in the race, however, as Spencer faded later on into the day. Gordon led at the midway point of the race with 42 laps when he took the checkers in second. The driver who capitalized on the endurance factor was Rusty Wallace, who had an absolute rocket ship that day. He started 19th, drove his way into the top 10, and even led some laps. 95 total, in fact, en route to a win. It would be Wallace's only win that season. The 2002 race is perhaps one of the most memorable wins for the winner of that day. In terms of the actual racing itself, however, it was a pretty ordinary California race, only seeing 20 lead changes, the same number as the 2000 race, and by far more than the 18 in the 98 race. Ryan Newman, eventual Rookie of the Year winner, sat on the pole like he did so many times in his career and led the first 3 laps on the day. The race went on with differing winners, including Stacy Compton. I mentioned Compton because his crew chief the previous season was to be the crew chief that would win the race. The mastermind of 7 championships, too many Daytona 500 poles and sheer dominance, loopholes and the finest chicanery NASCAR has seen since Dale Inman. It was none other than Chad Knaus. Dale Jarrett would lead 50 laps that day, and Dave Blaney 27. But it seemed like Bill Elliott could be the victor. He led 3 laps leading up to 14 to go, and was stretching his fuel to the best he could. Unfortunately, a caution came out. Jimmy Johnson, 2002 Daytona 500 pole sitter and rookie standout, led the final 14 laps, stretching his fuel enough to earn his first of 83 total wins and 7 championships. This was the beginning of a new era in NASCAR. He held off Kurt Busch that day, who led 102 laps, and was still in search of a first win, even with the full season behind him. It was an agonizing defeat. Busch would have to wait several weeks before he got his first win at one of his playgrounds, at Bristol. That was a vengeance for a first win, at least, but what about a vengeance for a California win? Well, he wouldn't wait long, as he would win the 2003 edition, leading 27 laps that day. Tony Stewart dominated that particular race, leading 100 out of the 128 laps he ran that day. He lost the lead as his car began deteriorating on lap 116, before engine issues took him out a few laps later. That opened Pandora's box for the next 100 or so laps that saw guys like Rusty Wallace and Jamie McMurray try and break through. neither of the latter of which had won that season. For Kurt Busch, this was certainly the beginning of showing championship stride. On Thursday, May 15th, Robin Miller of ESPN reported a shocking rumor. The oldest tradition in NASCAR is going away. The Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway, a mainstay on the Winston Cup schedule since 1950, will not be back in 2004, an anonymous source told ESPN.com, as reported on the website. Instead, NASCAR is moving its annual Labor Day weekend race to the California Speedway and is considering making it a night race. It's not known whether the Southern 500 title will accompany the race to Fontana, California. This could be the beginning of some fairly substantial changes in the Winston Cup schedules, and there could be some big surprises down the road, said the source, who is close to the NASCAR family. An official announcement is expected in the near future. This isn't the first time we've heard that we haven't met with NASCAR to sign our sanctions for 2004. So right now we don't have any specific dates, said Kathy Mock, Director of Public Relations at Darlington. I'm confident we'll have 2 dates in 2004, but right now we just don't know. It was especially shocking considering the month prior, Darlington delivered a classic race with a classic finish. But one good apple on a rotting tree doesn't make the other apples grow. It just rots that one good apple. On June 13, 2003, NASCAR President Mike Helton announced the sanctioning of 2 Winston Cup Series events at California Speedway for 2004, the May 2nd Auto Club 500 and the September 5th Pop Secret 500, which would be the first race at the Speedway scheduled to finish, quote, under the lights. As part of the new deal, California moved from the 10th race of the season to the 2nd race of the season, and the 2nd race at California would be the 25th race from here on out. With it being the 2nd race, it meant it had a crucial role to play. The Daytona 500 is the first race of the season, and one of the only sporting events going on when it is on. It means it attracts a whole array of new fans. Those fans are going to be curious, and if the Great American Race is to bring them into the sport, California is going to have to assure them to stay. Traditionalists look back at the move and scoff NASCAR for it, and while it does seem strange, there are a few things to note. Yes, it was a temporary solution, but not only was this track here during NASCAR's demise in the late 2000s, but its peak in the mid-2000s. It wasn't until 2020 when Darlington got not only a 2nd date, but a 3rd date, albeit in the midst of a pandemic. Officially, that happened in 2021. Darlington, much like Homestead, has only gained favor in the eyes of recency, but just like Homestead as well as it used to be seen, it was just another racetrack. The first 2004 race was pretty thrilling, seeing super speedway style racing and tons of parity. Ultimately, Jeff Gordon won, leading 81 laps out of the 250, besting Jimmy Johnson for a Hendrick 1-2. The second 2004 race saw even more parity, with Brian Vickers leading 44 laps that day. Elliott Sadler the eventual winner, Mark Martin and Casey Kane each dueling the other for the win. In early 2005, it was Roush Racing's Ford Muscle that was too much for the field to handle. 4 out of the top 7 cars were Roush cars, including the winner Greg Biffle. The only car that wasn't there was Matt Kenseth, who limped his car across the line. I'd also like to note Joe Nemechek, who led over 60 laps that day, and may very well could have won had his engine not give way. Late 2005 saw the most lead changes in California Speedway history, with 30 across the field. This race is remembered fondly for the winner that came out of it. 2-time Cup champion and the aforementioned king of Xfinity, Kyle Busch won the race. His brother made quite the name for himself at the place until Kyle arrived on the scene. As someone who grew up in the late 2000s and early 2010s, and as someone who loves all things car-related, it was the movie Cars that indoctrinated in me the love for race cars that I haven't looked back on. In the opening scene of Cars, you could argue they were racing at a much larger scale of Bristol. But when Lightning McQueen, Chick Hicks, and the King all tie, they need a title decider. They end up going to a sellout event where 3 cars are racing to decide the championship. That being Los Angeles International Speedway. The fictitious track is a direct inspiration from California Speedway in real life. And much to the despair of us fans of the 95, it was the 86 of Chick Hicks who led 1 lap in a race that saw several lead changes to win the series championship. It's the veterans only title to date. The last lap saw a wild tumble by the 43 of stripped, quote, the King Weathers, who was pushed across the line by McQueen. Ultimately, it would be Weathers' final race. On a more serious note, Greg Biffle and Tony Stewart dominated the first race of 2006, with Biffle leading 168 laps and Stewart leading 28 laps. Oddly enough, they would finish 42nd and 43rd respectively, citing engine issues. It would be an easy cruise to victory for Matt Kenseth. The 2006 Sony HD 500 saw Casey Kane lead 130 out of the 250 laps that day in a dominating performance. In 2007, Matt Kenseth dominated again, putting a foothold as the King of California, leading 133 laps that day. In late 2007, Hendrick teammates Kyle Busch and Jimmy Johnson dueled each other for the win, with Jimmy ultimately coming out on top. The first race of California Speedway's title sponsor had long been Auto Club, also known as the American Automobile Association. But the title sponsor was going to do a similar thing that Lowe's did, purchase naming rights to the track. And while Lowe's Motor Speedway eventually reverted back to Charlotte Speedway, Auto Club hasn't. On February 22, 2008, Daily Breeze reported this. In a landmark development within the motorsports industry, California Speedway will announce today a deal with the Automobile Club of Southern California for the naming rights to the 11-year-old track. The agreement is for 10 years, but no financial terms have been released. According to industry sources, the deal is estimated to be worth between $50 million and $75 million. This will redefine track licensing, said Speedway President Gillian Zucker. It's a powerful platform, very unique. This will be more than a signage and media deal. Under the terms of the agreement, the official name of the track that first opened in 1997 will be the Auto Club Speedway of Southern California. Racing has been part of our heritage for so long, said Tom McKernan, president and CEO of Auto Club. We view this as an extension. Our members love it. As in other Southern California venues, we're out in front of our members. McKernan said the new agreement will allow his association to use the Speedway rather than just promote it. That's the neat thing. It's just more than putting our name on it. We get to use it, he said, and use it a lot. McKernan also mentioned it will aid the Auto Club in promoting auto safety from teen driving clinics to car care. In a bonus, he also said Pepsi is going to be sponsoring the August 31st race. Relatively, one could argue that they've been quite successful since 2008, though you could make the opposite argument. In early 2008, the race saw 33 lead changes with Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson, and Jeff Gordon all battling for the win. Ultimately, the fans would see a backflip. The first two would go on to be championship rivals that year. Gordon would go on to struggle mercilessly with the COT car. It was the first time Auto Club saw the COT car, and the sleek, dynamic aero of the previous car helped the racetrack tremendously. But the boxy design for the COT car didn't bode well with the new track, at least the Gen 5 car with the wing. Jimmy Johnson came back with a vengeance later that year, breaking the all-time lead lap record at the place with 228 out of 250 laps, or in other words, 91.2% of the possible laps that day. Early 2009 saw another slow burn race, with Matt Kenseth and Jeff Gordon battling for the win. Again, it would be a loss for Jeff Gordon. 2009 saw another shocking announcement that would happen to the Auto Club track. It would be a chase race, which meant anything the chase contenders did would implicate the championship. It was week 30 of the 36-race schedule that saw the postseason begin at week 27. This meant the haves and have-nots were already decided, and the battle was on. The 2009 Pepsi 500 saw Jimmy Johnson finish first and Mark Martin finish fourth. This meant Johnson held on to the championship by a mere 12 points. Again, Gordon would finish runner-up. 7 of the top 8 finishers were chase contenders, which meant 5 drivers struggled, these being Ryan Newman, Greg Biffle, and Brian Vickers. Casey Kane and pole sitter Denny Hamlin, both who had accidents that dashed their title hopes. Ultimately, the championship went to Jimmy Johnson, who won it for a record 4th time in a row, smashing Cale Yarborough's record for consecutive championships at 3. Early 2010 saw Jimmy Johnson win yet again, leading 101 out of the 250 laps that day. The 2010 Pepsi Max 500 had clusters of championship contenders. The top 3 finishers were in their own bubble, being Tony Stewart, Clint Bowyer, and Jimmy Johnson. Johnson amassed a 36-point lead after the race was said and done, and would go on to beat Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick for his 5th straight championship. Speaking of Harvick and Hamlin, they finished 7th and 8th with Gordon in 9th. Kurt Busch, Matt Kenseth, and Jeff Burton all struggled to find speed that day. Carl Edwards stalled on lap 59. Kyle Busch and Greg Biffle were plagued with engine issues. For 2011, Auto Club was moved to the 5th race of the season, with its second date being axed. New mile-and-a-half such as Kentucky and Kansas emerged onto the schedule. From 2011 to 2019, Auto Club would play host to the 5th race of the season. Kyle Busch would lead 151 laps in the 2011 race, but he would not lead the final lap, or the final 3 laps in fact. Because the final 3 laps are beyond what words can describe, I'll just show it to you right here.
Side, he may be right there. Watch that gap open up right there. Jimmy was looking underneath of him through the middle of the corner. Kyle gets that nice run off the top.
Really hard, about 10 back.
Yes, he is. I tell you, he is. I just looked at the 29 car, and while these 2 cars up here are racing each other, hello, and look at Jimmy down all the way down on the apron.
Can't get alongside Kyle Busch. Yes, he can. Johnson off the corner.
You know who's going to win this race? That 29 car.
29 is 6 behind you. Outside.
As they run side by side, Harvick is there. He makes it a 3-car battle.
He's there, and here goes Jimmy to the lead. He's going to clear Kyle off of 2. They're going to get side by side going down the back again, and that's going to open the door for the 33.
29 is 2 behind him.
Harvick is coming.
He got in the wall. No, he got in the corner way too hard.
And Harvick takes 2nd. This is not over.
Here it comes. That 33 car is on it, boys.
A lap and a half to go.
29 car, sorry.
Been working the top, can't help you though, no.
Here comes Kyle Busch, fighting it back on the bottom. He's even with Harvick, even for 2nd.
They're searching for grip right now.
And drops back in line. White flag for Jimmy Johnson. 1 lap to go.
Harv's going to have to make a big move right down here.
Harvick trying the outside as Johnson.
He's got the momentum. He's got the momentum right there.
That's been his strong point, that speed of carry all the way down the back straightaway.
A bump.
Outside there.
He's going to push him up into the corner faster than he wants to go, I think.
Kyle Busch is 5 car lengths back. It's
Here
a two-horse race, and here comes Harvick.
He's got him.
Johnson got loose.
He's got him. That little push getting into 3. That little bump.
Harvick, Johnson switches lanes. Johnson can't get there. Harvick wins it.
2012 saw the most monotonous and dry race in Auto Club history. 9 lead changes the entire day. Busch, who started second and finished second, dominated with 80 laps led, but it was Tony Stewart who pulled through to take his second win at the track. 2013 saw a slow burn race yet again. It was very memorable for its finish. The entire race was spread out, but restarts were always a thrill. Busch led 125 laps that day and finally broke through to win at a track that plagued him for 2 years in a row.
He's stalking him. I believe Hamlin's a skosh better.
It seems like he has a bit of an advantage down in turn 1 and 2.
Teammates last year, rivals this year. Friends, maybe never. But Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin are going to settle this right now.
Well, Hamlin cut him some slack. He had a run on him. Oh, Hamlin. Joey got loose. He got a little sideways off the floor.
There you go.
Hamlin gave him a shot. One to go.
Outside, barely. Outside.
Hamlin there. Logano to the bottom, trying to hold his ground.
That's going to be tough, though. But he's been running good on the bottom. If he can just clear Hamlin right there.
No way. He's going to lose his momentum. They're going to touch hard. Are they going to make it?
Neck and neck.
Side by side.
Kyle Busch closing in.
Watch out for the third place car, Kyle Busch. He's looking.
Hamlin edges ahead. They touch. They touch, and here comes Kyle. Hamlin, Logano on the wall. Hamlin spins down the racetrack, and Kyle Busch wins in California.
I thought they'd be nice to each other. They weren't. Hard impact on the 11 car, head on. I don't like the looks of that.
Hard hit to the inside wall for Hamlin. A bounce off the outside wall for Logano.
The funniest thing about that race that almost no one seems to talk about is that the runner-up Dale Earnhardt Jr., who had a sort of lame duck season with the goose egg in the wins column, took the points lead for 1 whole week after this race. Jimmy Johnson and Brad Keselowski led the charge in the 2014 race, but a double green-white checker would settle it all. Larson was looking for his first win, a win that wouldn't come until 2016, and to think he was inches away from winning his 5th race that season is incredible. Many began hyping him up as the next Jeff Gordon. 2015 was a Gibbs versus Haas type race. Gibbs had Hamlin and Kenseth, while Haas had Harvick and Kurt Busch. Busch needed to win the race, as he was in a massive hole after missing the Daytona 500. However, Brad Keselowski slipped through the cracks and won the race. 2016 saw Superman winning the race in a blisteringly swift performance that showcased one of Jimmy's last raw and quick wins. I mentioned Larson lost the 2014 race, but he would get payback in the 2017 race, besting Martin Truex Jr. to score a win. A year earlier, he took one of the hardest hits into the inside safer barrier, but that week he took home 2 trophies. Jersey boy Martin Truex Jr. went California Dreaming in 2018, dominating the race. Leading up to that race, Harvick completed a trifecta of wins that was not to be in this one as he crashed out early. I mentioned earlier how Cole Custer delayed Busch's 200th win celebration. Well, that would be delayed to no later than a day. Busch battled his way through a speeding penalty to score his win in one of the fastest cars Auto Club has seen. While many tracks would be fortunate enough to say they even hosted a race at all, Auto Club was very fortunate. In 2020, Auto Club returned to its roots for that year's schedule, playing host to the 3rd race of the season. Only 4 races were held in pre-pandemic times that year. While the theme of the track had been historically veterans, Ryan Blaney and Alex Bowman threw away conventional law. Blaney, in a Kobe Bryant tribute that saw one of the best paint schemes in recent memory, led 54 laps that day only to falter. Alex Bowman, who was fighting for his job the next season, got his one and only win of 2020 at Auto Club in a dominating performance to silence his detractors. It was enough for him to earn another shot at HMS for 2021. Auto Club planned to host a race in 2021 as the 3rd race of the schedule directly after Homestead, but no later than a month before it was supposed to host it, they backed out at the last minute, citing a rise in COVID cases. It would be replaced by the Daytona Road Course. So ahead of the 2022 race, the memories of the past echo ahead to the future. We aren't certain as to whether this is the end to this majestic beast of a track, but if it is, farewell, Auto Club. Farewell to the 2-mile circle of memories. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. This was a grueling production, but nonetheless, this has been the news, and until next time, I'll see you.